What's going on YouTube? So I recently saw an article that the average new car costs nearly $50,000 now. However, Chevy is doing something that is in the opposite direction. That something is this all-new 2024 Chevy Trax with a starting price just a little over $20,000. But is it any good? Let's go ahead and find out. Now normally both Mason and I would start off this video with the spec dump. However, he's holding an umbrella over the camera right now because as you can see, it is raining here in Asheville, North Carolina. But let's talk about what is under the hood because we have some big changes from the previous generation. 1.2 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine, 137 horsepower, 162 pound-feet of torque. It is going to be paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission, front wheel drive only, and we have 30 mpg combined for our fuel economy rating, which is up about 10% over the previous generation. But let's go ahead, close up the hood, and take a look at the exterior. So the previous generation of the Trax used to make me hungry because it looked a lot like a jelly bean. Thankfully, we do have a more dynamic look here with this new generation. It's wider by 2 inches, it's longer, and it's lower. Let's talk about the design elements up here in the front. I think this is the most handsome angle of this new Trax. So you're gonna have different designs for different trim levels. LS and LT are gonna have a more basic look. However, when you choose this RS trim level, this is gonna be your sporty design. As you can see, we've got the black mesh finish. We've got the RS badging right through there. And we also have a darkened chrome that's gonna run through the front and a black Chevy bow tie. Looks very nice. Also, you have the active trim level. If you choose that model, that's gonna have a little bit of a tougher look. They actually change up a lot of the front end design and bring that grille down a lot lower for a more bold look. Now let's come over here and talk about the headlight situation. I'm very impressed by this. We have standard LED headlights on all versions of the most affordable Chevy in the lineup. We also have an LED daytime running light up here at the top, and then your turn signal will be incandescent. Now when we come to the wheels, you continue to find that customizability depending on which trim level you have all types of different choices. So you're gonna start out with 17-inch steel wheels with hubcaps on your very base model. However, as you go up the lineup, you move through 18s and 19-inch alloy wheels. Here with the 2RS, we've got the 19-inch contrast alloy wheel. Looks really, really nice here on this model, especially with this red paint. Now as we move on up here, RS trim levels are also gonna have the black finish on the mirrors. We are gonna have heating on RS and active trim levels, and you can get blind spot monitoring as an option on all trim levels, even the base model.
So here at the side, we have a lot to talk about because like Drew said at the beginning, this vehicle is longer, lower, and wider, faster, stronger, all of the other adjectives that you can think of. This Trax is a big improvement over the previous generation. As far as overall length, you're looking at 178.6 inches, which is up 11 inches over the previous generation Trax, and it's about 5 inches longer than the Trailblazer. So a little bit confusing when it comes to how this vehicle positions in, but because it is a lot lower than the previous generation, Chevy's kind of saying this is the more sleek version. If you want the taller, more rugged look, go for the Trailblazer model. It's actually 4 inches shorter than the previous Trax. Now, as far as other design elements, I do want to point out we have black window surrounds. We do also have black roof rails up top, and you're going to have rugged matte black around all of our wheel arches, as well as this lower area. Now, the safety systems are also an area that I want to talk about because it's very impressive for this all-new 24 Trax. Chevy's including 3 out of your 4 active safety features as standard equipment, even on that base $21,000 model. Now, furthermore, you do have the option of adding adaptive cruise control, which is a first for the Trax model. But guys, there is a very functional and tech-filled cabin on the inside that I can't wait to show you, so let's go ahead and dive into that.
All right, so let's go ahead and hop inside. Take a look at our key fob first. You do have a standard keyless entry system. However, if you want smart entry, that's going to require you going up to at least the LT trim level. You also will have remote start if you choose the 1RS trim level or above. If you have the smart entry, you're just going to press the little silver button. That's going to unlock the door. and take a look inside at this all new cabin. As you can see, it has a very nice look to it. A lot of inspiration from other Chevy models, but it looks surprisingly premium for their most affordable model. But before we get into all of that, I want to start off by talking about our seating materials and color options. So color options is easy. You are going to have jet black on every single version. You've got no other choice, but the accent colors inside of each cabin does change depending on the trim level. As far as the materials though, that changes. LS and 1RS are going to have cloth seats. LT will have a leatherette trimmed seat, and then if you choose the 2RS or the Active, you will have this full Evotex leatherette seat. As you can see, nice premium design to this though. It has all types of perforation through here. We have the color contrast stitching details that are red here on the RS, and we even have the branding up there in the headrest. Also riding around in it, I can say this is a very comfortable seat. All the trim levels will have a manual adjusting seat except for the Active, which will have a power adjusting seat. But let's go ahead, hop inside, take a closer look at the details. Now that I'm inside, let's go ahead and check the materials because like I mentioned, it does visually look quite nice inside of here. Of course, this is a very affordable model, but we do still have a nice leatherette area here in the center section with the stitching detail. I do want to point out though that the armrest portion, this is actually going to be hard on all the trim levels. Of course, it is going to be a hard touch plastic along the top of the dashboard, but one of the things that Chevy has done is given this a very unique texture. So even though it's hard, it actually looks pretty good. We do have, again, a red accent specific to this model. You have different color accents on the other trim levels, RS branding, big piece of piano black that runs through there, and you even have more piano black accents down here, which makes it look pretty premium. Everything does feel nice and solid as well. Now, if you have the LT trim level or above, you'll also get push button start. So let's go ahead and fire it up. All right, it's technology time here. This new generation of Trax really takes what I would call a quantum leap forward in terms of technology. We'll talk about the main infotainment system later on, but I want to start off by talking about the gauge cluster. So as you can see, we have a full digital gauge cluster on board with this model. The lower two trim levels, those are going to come with a more traditional analog setup, but the vast majority of the trim levels will come with this 8-inch digital gauge cluster with really nice looking graphics. I'm quite impressed by that. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, I'm also impressed by how nice this steering wheel is. We've got a really cool flat bottom design. This is specific to the RS trim levels. Both of them will have this look with the perforated leather on the outside edges. Of course, you do have manual tilt and telescoping, and leather wrapping is on most of the trim levels. Additionally, heating comes on both RS trim levels and the Active trim level. Now let's go ahead and take a look at interior storage. So, another place that I'm pretty pleased with because we have plenty of storage, even on a small crossover such as this. We've got a nice big console, plenty of space for different types of papers and stuff like that. A lot of space up there in front of that as well. Big cup holders and a huge wireless phone charging pad. Absolutely no problem fitting Mason's Max iPhone up there. And you also have your USB ports as well. Now as we come back to the shifter here, we have specific RS branding. Of course, go back to drive, you can shift manually with these little toggles over here. And then if we go up into R, that's where you're going to see the standard backup camera pop up. It is standard HD resolution. And we do also have active trajectory, which is helpful. Parking sensors are available. We do have them here on the 2RS trim level. And of course, P is for park. You additionally have an electronic parking brake behind there. Now moving on up to our climate controls, you will have a single zone automatic setup on the LT trim level and above. Otherwise, it will be a manual setup, but the controls nice and simple here. As you can see, you just have the physical dials to control things. Additionally, you will have 3-stage heated seats that will be included on both your RS trim levels as well as the Active trim level. And rising on up here, before we get into the display, I do want to talk about the audio system. So you do have a standard 4-speaker sound system on your LS and your 1RS trim levels. The other models will come with a 6-speaker sound system. So let's go ahead and give this a sample right now. Now, of course, as you would expect, this is not going to blow you away or anything like that, but it is just fine for a vehicle at this price point. Okay, now, this is what I really want to talk about, is this main display, because I was super impressed by this from the second I got inside of the vehicle. So, you do have big displays on board. 8 inches is what's going to be standard. However, most of the trim levels will actually come with this 11-inch touchscreen display. The resolution on board here looks really excellent. It's super crisp. Right now we're inside of the Apple CarPlay ecosystem. You do also have Android Auto, and both of those systems run completely wireless on both of the displays. Now, as far as the actual software itself, this is General Motors' latest infotainment software. It is based on Android Automotive, so you do have the nice smooth animations and everything looks nice and performs fast. Now, as we move on up here, manual dimming mirror. And up top, we do have the optional sunroof. So this is going to be available packaged with the wireless phone charging pad on the LT trim level and above.
Now come on back here and join me in the all-new Chevy Trax's rear seat. Now this area is probably one of the most surprising elements about this Trax, because since we've grown 11 inches in length, that is going to translate to a lot more room here in the rear seat. So as far as the leg room is concerned, 38.7 inches of leg room, 38.1 inches of headroom. So even though we have a 4-inch lower roof line, we're still going to have a lot of headroom, which is very surprising and impressive. That actually makes us one of the largest offerings in the entire segment. It's really going to best the vast majority of them. Now, I did bring our handy dandy bendy ruler all the way to North Carolina. We're looking at about 7.5 inches of space between my knees and the seat adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I'm 5'9". And check this out, my feet can fully slide up underneath the seat. There's lots of space up underneath of there, and we have a fully flat floor back here, so even this middle seat is going to be perfectly comfortable. So I have to say, this new Trax is on tracks to be a hot seller, because there is a lot of room back here. Honestly, it feels just as good, if not better, than the Chevy Equinox, which is pretty impressive. Now, let's also talk about the features. LT trims and above are going to get these 2 USB ports, USB-A, USB-C. Then down below that, of course, you're not going to have any vents or anything. This is an affordable product, but we do have this little storage cubby to stick a few things. I don't know what you would want in there, maybe a few coupons or something. I do want to point out, even though we are in the fully loaded 2RS trim level, there's not going to be a fold down armrest, so that is one thing that they had to cost cut on. And then turning to your door trim, as you would expect, it's going to be 100% hard touch on the upper part and the lower part, as well as your armrest portion, but we do have bottle storage in the very bottom. And walking up to the tailgate in the all-new Trax, you do have a manually opening one on all trim levels. That's not expected for anything in this segment for it to have a power option, and you won't have it on the model. Now, as far as the space is concerned, not only are we going to see a 3-inch legroom improvement in the second row, we're also going to see a nearly 12% improvement in overall cargo capacity for this all-new Trax model. Now, as far as the capacity behind the second row seats, we're looking at about 25.6 cubic feet of cargo capacity. If we fold those seats down, a little over 54 cubic feet of maximum cargo capacity. That's the same as the Chevy Trailblazer. It's also going to be right on par with that of the vast majority of the segment, like the Honda HR-V, Kia Seltos, those rivals right there. Now, as far as some of the finishing, Chevy does have a nice cargo cover integrated up top, and then down here in the lower area, if I can lift it up, we do have a spare tire. I do apologize, we have our camera gear back here in the Trax. We can't take it out because, you know, it's pouring down rain here. Now, I do want to point out there are not any handles in the cargo area to fold the seats down, but they do fold 60-40 split folding, which is a nice touch here that they've included that. And of course, I brought my measuring tape here to see how much space there is between the driver's seat and the rear of the cargo area. So stretched all the way out, we're looking at 69 or 70 inches of space, which is a good amount of space, guys. I'm actually very surprised by that. That's a figure that we normally get on a lot of bigger vehicles, but do keep in mind this is a little bit of a shorter product than the Trailblazer, so you can't stack things up just quite as high as you would be able to on that model. And now let's talk price, because that is one of the most impressive elements about this all-new 2024 Trax, is that all of the trim levels, including this fully loaded 2RS model, is gonna start at under $25,000, including destination. So very impressive price point. So the LS is gonna start at a little over 20,000, 20,400, 1RS 22,1, LT 22,3, 2RS 23,9, and active 23,9 plus destination charge. Now this particular model, we do have all of the options that you can add to this model. So this is fully loaded out. We're looking at an as tested price of $26,540 when we add in the 1,095 destination plus the sunroof package and the driver confidence package. So very impressive to be fully loaded out at $26,500. Now guys, that is going to wrap up part 1 of our full review of this 2024 Chevy Trax. Now, of course, we will be taking this vehicle out on a drive. There's a lot to show you under the hood. Of course, we mentioned that at the very beginning of the video that this has a new turbo 3-cylinder, and we can't wait to show you what it's like out here in Asheville, North Carolina, but that's coming next week. It's going to be coming on Tuesday, May 2nd. So stay tuned for that. Mark your calendar, because we will have the drive portion coming up on this all-new 2024 Trax very soon. But guys, that's where we're going to leave off this video. So if you enjoyed watching, please hit that subscribe button down below. We really appreciate the support. It helps us get invited to programs like this where we can sample out some of the latest products first. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.